for me, my vision is that we have women who are building the infrastructure that they will play their sports in the future. I think if we don't start focusing on this 50% of the population as an answer to our schools. People talk about women dropping out, cancellation rates, and a lot of the commentary then goes, we told you they can't handle the work, and that it's not the work. It's no secret we're not as strong and we can't necessarily always do what the men can do. So then we come up with
Rad.
Yes.
Rad needs no introduction. Order of Australia Medal, Carpenter by trade, going through as I would class you as a trailblazer in the industry, and I think you've gained a lot of respect through the work you've done. But if I'm honest, it's not just the work you've done, it's actually who you are. It's the way you connect with people, the way you communicate, and the way that you have, I suppose you have this unique way of bringing people together in so many ways. You've brought a lot of people onto this podcast too and recommended people. And so I've kept nudging along, what about you, Rad? And so here we are. And I really wanted to spend, the time understanding. As I was researching, I learned so much more around your backstory, and I knew about that you had done a trade and moved your way into the corporate world, but I didn't know about your beginnings and coming, first generation immigrant. So tell me about your story. Tell me where it started.
Thank you. Thanks for that introduction. My story began in a little place called Bar in the former Yugoslavia, but now known as Montenegro. My family descended from the mountains, but I was born in almost like a fishing village. As such, it's not like that now. It's a bustling little city. But yeah, very humble beginnings. Just a one room kind of house that we were living in that got destroyed in an earthquake. I had an uncle here in Brisbane who helped vouch for mum and dad, but Australia was at the time trying to get more migrants to come and work on various infrastructure jobs, and that's how we came. Dad worked on quite a few. He worked on Ivanhoe Dam, the Gateway Bridge. He's worked on pipelines in Western Australia. Mum cleaned most of Brisbane. Yeah. She was a cleaner. My sister and I grew up here. It was really challenging because my parents were extremely strict. They were terrified for us. They were in a foreign country. They didn't speak English. So it was a constant struggle between the two worlds of trying to live up to a certain standard, a certain traditional standard, let's keep it that way, as a girl who was meant to, finish high school, get married and be a good housewife to someone, and then being raised in an Australian school where I was playing rugby league and doing all the things I wanted. Yeah, so it was definitely a challenge growing up. Yeah.
So it's interesting. So if you look at your beginnings and, how that shaped you as well, did it help you develop that understanding of what it feels like? Because you had that family upbringing, and then you were playing rugby league or playing sport at school and sort of shaping your own identity. Did that influence now part of why you're passionate to show other people what's possible too? Like, was that part of that where that was sort of born?
Yeah, definitely. I think it was being told a lot of the time that I couldn't, I got put a grade lower because my English wasn't good enough. So I was told I couldn't do certain things that my generation were already doing. So being told no a lot, especially by my mum, no to go, sleepovers and stuff, definitely set me on this determined path that if I wanted to do something, I should be able to do it. And certainly seeing it, So I loved rugby league from a young age, and then when I hit a certain age group, I wasn't allowed to play at school anymore. All of that kind of stuff just really impacted me as I grew up, and just being told that I couldn't do stuff that I wanted to do. In all honesty, I wanted to be an archaeologist, but my mum wouldn't let me leave home to go to Armidale to study. I was accepted there, and she wouldn't let me go study. So when this carpentry opportunity came up, at the ripe age of 18, I ran away from home.
Did you really run away from home to do it?
Yeah, wow. Mum and Dad went to the Gold Coast to visit some friends, and whilst they were out, because that's a day trip back then, while they were out, I just packed everything, including my sister.
Wow.
Ran away from home.
And your sister came with you?
Yeah.
And did that sever the ties with the family? Did you? Yeah. That was it.
We didn't talk to Mum and Dad probably for a good 4 or 5 years after I did that. I don't think they ever really forgave me for doing that, but
Wow, I never knew that part of your story. And so, what impact did that also have on your sister? Do you think at that time?
It was challenging. We moved after a couple of months, we moved into a housing commission house, so having to finish her schooling because she was still in high school at the time. Mum and Dad were always really happy to spend on us, give us the best. So having to produce a formal dress for her that we had sewn up for her and stuff, it was really, really challenging. Like she would have had if she'd been at home with Mum and Dad, she would have had the best of the best. And unfortunately she missed out on that, I feel. But yeah, it was tough on her, but I think it also set her on a solid path as well, to be independent and strong and not let people take advantage of her.
And then you go and study a trade, right? Because, you're so determined to just keep doing things. Rad's like, I'm going to do hard things, I feel like that just the theme of your life and where you started is it's just like you were willing to do hard stuff.
Can someone tell me to stop that? Because I'm tired.
You're still doing hard things.
I am still doing hard things. But, yeah, definitely. I think I get into my own head when things are easy. So I really enjoy a challenge. I like coming up with solutions. It's an important aspect of who I am.
Yeah. So tell me about the reality when you decided to do carpentry and you, started to go out and site and things like that. What was the expectation that you were expecting and then the reality that you were faced with?
I'm not quite sure what I was expecting as such, or that I remember what I was expecting, but I was such a, I'll say tomboy because that was the term that was used at the time. I was mucking around with cars and mechanics. I was very comfortable with tools in my hand and stuff. So what I did find was the first 3 to 6 months were probably the hardest. I hated wearing an nail bag. It didn't feel right on my hips, on my legs. My thighs would bruise from the hammer swinging. I'd hit winter in that first 6 months too, so hit my fingers a few times with a hammer in the cold and so just those physical things were a bit of a stumbling block. I can't recall having too much drama on site. I was really determined to do the job, so I just got physically fit. Your body gets conditioned to the work. By the time I was late second year, third year, I was doing just as much as the guys who were my level, or a lot more than guys that were coming in as first years. I tell this story often where. And there was a site at Logan Home I was on, and we had this, I think it was like a 6 metre beam or something, and I'm on one end, on my shoulder, up a ladder into the crook. There was 4 boys on the other side. It's just you just get conditioned. but yeah, I didn't find it too hard. There was a few incidents. I remember I was on a site at Deception Bay that I got sent to, and the boys must have been warned that a female was coming. So there was a lot of pornographic material, not just in your standard areas. They were in like kitchen cupboards and wardrobes. So every time I opened a door or something, there'd be pornographic material. So I went out at lunchtime and I bought a male forum. And I stuck one everywhere I found a female one. My site supervisor, I could hear him screaming before he could find me. He was yelling, and he got right in my face, and he's like, why the fuck have I got a cock in my face everywhere I look? And I'm like, it's just equal opportunity, mate. I don't mind, but fair's fair. And he went around and he made the boys take all of it off, and then it stopped. And I think I got a bit of a reputation for it too. So it preceded me if I went somewhere. Like the practical jokes still got played from time to time, and I played my fair share of them as well. Yeah. So I think my reputation preceded me, and then it seemed to not be as prevalent.
Yeah. Okay, so and the other thing that I find interesting about you is what happened. So did you get back into league after that as well? Because you know how you had to stop playing in high school. Did you Yep.
Yeah, actually I had a female supervisor, Karen Stewart, on one of the sites out at Ippy, if I remember correctly, and she's like, "We've got this women's league. Do you want to come and play?" And so I joined Easts at Holland Park with her, and I played 2 seasons. I think it was only 2 seasons that I played, but yeah, it was one of the best times of my life. There was about 5 or 6 teams in the competition. It was full on, but it'd been around for some time. I reckon the comp had been around since probably the early 90s, and there'd been other comps in like Ippy and stuff that I'm actually only learning about now. But as a result, I ended up playing for the inaugural Queensland team. We didn't verse New South Wales, we versed New Zealand. We played, and that was well and truly before they called it State of Origin. I played for Brisbane in a national comp. We played against England as well. So it was really it was an amazing time in my life, and a lot of the women that were playing were in trades. So my feeling is that elite sportswomen would make really great tradeswomen.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned that because that's what I want to talk to you about. So we have a unique opportunity now in Brisbane where we're about to start building for the Olympics. Yeah. And it's really important that we don't just build, legacy infrastructure, but we've got to build the capability and really think differently now. This is such a pivotal moment for us as a state as well. So tell me a little bit more. We've chatted about this, but I want you to share with me your vision of what's possible for some of the athletes and trades. How can we, use this as an opportunity to leverage and create more opportunity for some of the women in sport?
Yeah, well, we definitely know that we have skill shortages, particularly to build the kind of infrastructure that's going to take place over the next few years. We need the employers to get on board and understand that we're going to have an influx of sporting people coming into Queensland years before the actual Olympics to acclimate, use it as a way to train, to get themselves familiar with the environment. But they don't have the capacity of full-time employment. They will also need to sustain themselves while they're living in a foreign city or a foreign country. All of that will become somewhat impactful in terms of the Olympics. And we also have some incredible sportswomen and men here in Queensland, and budding athletes coming through. We're very lucky in Queensland that the Queensland government introduced the elite sportspersons mode of apprenticeship. which means that it's very similar to a school-based, that if at peak times during their sporting career, they can go from a full-time or a part-time mode of apprenticeship into this elite sports mode of apprenticeship, and focus on their sport, and then revamp up when the season's over. Like that. For me, my vision is that we have women who are building the infrastructure that they will play their sports in the future. I think if we don't start focusing on this 50% of the population as an answer to our skill shortages, that, you know, the struggle will be real to get these things built in time.
Because we're only at 3% right now, aren't we?
In trades, yes.
3% is just, it's so low.
It is very low.
3%.
Yeah.
Like, it's, you know, we're not 3% of the population.
Look, the struggle, we've been doing a lot of work around the attraction piece. So in Queensland, for example, we're nearly at 5% in terms of the uptake of women in non-traditional trades. The Training Ombudsman did a report not too long ago. So I think it was 2 years ago that they did the report. So they've been putting in a lot of proactive programs to help fix and improve those numbers and work on it. Where we have a real issue is retention. And I know that, you know, you see things in the social media where people talk about women dropping out, cancellation rates, and a lot of the commentary then goes, we told you they can't handle the work, and that it's not the work. Our body's conditioned just like the men's in terms of getting the work done. It's the death by 1,000 paper cuts. It's the everyday commentary, the negativity, the exclusion, the not really maybe even understanding the career pathway, where it can take you. It's a very the conversations around where you can go with your trade aren't there. But what is really good is things like Instagram. So a lot of the women who are in trades, they're posting about the work that they're doing, and they're really becoming empowered through their own, you know, through social media, but they're able to show their own work and who they are through that lens, which is really good.
I love it because we've got an opportunity now, I feel, to reshape what goes out in the media, to reshape. I want our young girls to see on Instagram exactly that. What I don't want them to see is beauty ideals and things that they look at and aspire to. I want them to aspire to do great things with their life, whether that be in trades or sport or academically. I feel like, you know, having a daughter myself, you know, it will break my heart that if all she wanted to strive to was, you know, some sort of ideal on Instagram. And I love that the women are putting out there what trades looks like, because I think if that's half the battle, right? People see it, be it. People seeing something in someone else, they're going, I could do that.
Yeah, and I think we saw that with the Matildas last year, young girls looking at sports women and thinking, well, I can do that. Like a young Rad playing rugby league, all she could see was you know, men on the screen. There was no women playing rugby league. Look at it now. Rugby league is one of the fastest growing sports in for young females. They're taking it up in big strides and increasing the viewership, all of it. I think New South Wales just actually threw out some stats around the uptake of females in the rugby league program. So it does make a huge difference. We know it does. It's just how do we as an industry really tap into that and also leverage of other industries like the sporting industry and work together in a partnership to create these parallel career pathways for these girls, because like the guys, the sports isn't going to be there for the rest of their life, not necessarily, and so they need these other careers, and we know young men do trades alongside their professional careers and then start building companies and do all great things.
Just got me. Maybe we need to, within Narwick, be going out to sporting teams instead of just schools. We go out to schools, but what about going to sporting teams and going? And Cassandra on the schools engagement committee is going to go, Lauren, you're just going to make more work. But, you know, I feel like there is a place there. I love that idea. Yeah. But you're right. We need to, if we're going to do it, we need to set them up for success, that they can have their career as an athlete. And then also, sometimes, honestly, it blows my mind, they don't always understand, you know, the amount of, I remember speaking at school and we had on the brochures about the different trades, and she was like a young Sudanese girl, and I was explaining to her that she could study and work. She just couldn't get her head around it. She's like, you mean I don't have to pay, I get paid and I work and do this job? I'm like, yeah. And she's like, wow. Yeah. And you could kind of see, it was just a little moment where her eyes lit up. Yeah. And I just feel like, I think that we take for granted that people have information, and a lot of the time they don't know what's available.
And a lot of the time it's too much information. So they get flooded, particularly at school, they get flooded with all this information and the careers expos and careers days, and everyone wants these kids. Every industry is screaming out, and so they're trying to find ways to inform them. And the apprenticeship pathway, there's a lot of information. You know, you're engaged with both federal and state governments, you're engaged with the ASINs, employers, training organisations, group training organisations. There's just so many people, and they're all putting that information out there. So it is really tough for them to hear.
It's also like, and even as a small business, I just had a traineeship. She did a traineeship with me for a year in her gap year, and she's just finished. And I can say, as an employer, it was a lot of work, just keeping on top of the paperwork, making sure they have the training, making sure you lodge on time as well. So I think the more that we can empower companies to also look at apprenticeships as well and provide that support. The athletes idea I love, and I think the best way is we just kind of need government to get behind it and start to create these initiatives too.
Yeah, I think we need to be working closer with the other associations. So Narwick obviously has a huge membership, and there's a lot of work we can do, but you need all of your foot soldiers. So working with the Master Plumbers, Master Painters, Aussie Painters Network, Master Electricians, any of those associations, and maybe do a collaborative kind of campaign with all of us and the sporting bodies around what's possible around those careers in construction for elite sports people.
We like creating a project for ourselves.
Yes, we do.
We're right now on the podcast. I love it. I think it's I think it's a wonderful initiative, and I think it's something that to me it just makes sense. And also you're aligning, you know, people that play, generally if you like sports and you like being outdoors, you're fit, you can keep up with the kind of lifestyle that trade demands as well, and you like being outdoors. Like for me, even from a recruitment perspective, it's like you've already got halfway there. You know that the audience you're talking to is going to enjoy the outdoors sort of work and the style of work.
I'm actually funnily enough, on Monday going out to the city country camp to talk to the girls around trade opportunities. So we're starting to get those inroads happening from a Women on Tools perspective. We're having some wins there. What's
the city country camp?
So the teams got picked out of the Harvey Norman competition in Queensland. So they pick a elite group of girls in the 17s comp, and they have a city versus country competition this Wednesday. It'll be at East at Langlands if this podcast doesn't go live after. But there'll be roughly about 40 young women who are just starting on their rugby league pathway, and we'll be able to talk to them about careers. And I've invited another lady who played for Queensland to be on the panel, and someone from the Bronx who's done a uni pathway. We're just trying to give them a little bit of info around it. Yeah.
And now you've got children following in your footsteps. Tell us a little bit about that journey now as a parent.
Oh, look, I feel very privileged. My kids have been really great kids. My eldest, Indira, she's 25, is a police officer. in following her own path. I have and I think this is where you were leading. I have a 17-year-old daughter, Anna, who plays rugby league for East Juniors and now has played in the Harvey Norman campaign, and is in the Broncos Academy at the moment. She had a bit of a stint with AFL as well. She's had some really good success through those pathways. And then I've got my gorgeous little boy Declan, who turns 14, and he's into basketball.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Oh, my son's into basketball too. Okay, I never knew that. Yeah, so is my son's obsessed with it as well.
I stress more in basketball than I do watching her in rugby league.
It's so fast paced as well, and I feel like basketball moves at such a rapid pace that you can be 10 points down and then all of a sudden slam. Yeah. So you just kind of watch the whole game. You're like, I don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah, and it's not a good. Why are they having comps on a Friday afternoon?
Stresses me out. Need to go home and have a wine after it.
Yeah.
So I want to know this as well. What would you say to someone that's hearing no? Like, what did you say to yourself? Like, everything that you've achieved, the Order of Australia medal, the work that you're doing now in the corporate world, but also the work that you've done in trades. But you heard no so many times, and yet you didn't let no shape you. So what do you say to those people that hear it all the time?
I think it's about knowing yourself, knowing what you like, what you dislike, knowing what you're capable of. Testing yourself, give things a go. When people say no, have a go. If your head is telling you or your heart is telling you that this is something you can do or you want to have a go, just do it. Just have a go and keep pushing those barriers. You said I was a trailblazer earlier, but the first female carpenter signed up in Queensland was in 1957. So the women have been pushing barriers and championing causes and, training. They were teaching kids in America in the, they don't call it the outback, in the West, I guess, teaching Indian children how to read. There's women all over the world who've pushed every barrier that they can to progress women. It's nothing new. You just have to have faith in yourself. Women are a lot stronger, both emotionally and physically, than people give them credit, and they should just go and have a go.
What do you want to see change in the construction and trade sector to enable more women to stay as well?
Look, I think it's not a one simple fix. There's no one simple fix. It has to be a holistic strategy. I think this new grant that NAWIC nationally has received will be a game changer. For me, it is really important to work with the guys to help coach them through. Most of them are our allies. Like I could probably in one hand name the odd ones out that were not so nice or maybe even cruel or mean to me in my career, not just on the tools.
Same.
The majority of them are great people and they want to help. They just don't necessarily understand the problems we have.
Yeah.
They don't see them because for them a bit of ribbing on site is something that they've all gone through. What they may not see is because working in the construction industry is so transient, you move from site to site to site, you don't see just how often it is happening and the ripple effects of it. It's just coaching them around having conversations. I'll give you an example. We had the first Male Allies pilot program, and one of the guys that was in the pilot program said he thought he was doing quite well and he wanted to do the pilot because he feels 100% that he's an ally, and he had 2 direct reports, a male and a female, and he thought he was killing it. This is his words at midpoint when we checked in, and he basically said he went in to do some feedback with her because it was part of the the male allies training to just get a true reflection on how he was managing. And she's like, oh, well, honestly, I'm just about ready to go because it's not working. So he's got this whole image that he's a great boss, everything's working out well. And what her issue was is that he and the other guy were making decisions across the full gamut of work and then just informing her rather than including her in the conversations. And he was really lost because he's like, well, we're not having meetings without you. You're at all the meetings. And he had to sit back and think. And then he realised he comes in on a Monday with the other guy. They start talking footy. And from footy, they have some work conversations that take place. They make some decisions and then they inform her. And so he almost immediately implemented that. We will not speak work when we're just out, having chat about footy and that sort of stuff. And it completely changed the dynamic. So it's just those little learning moments within the Male Allies program, within this culture change piece that will help the guys understand, there's a lot of pigeonholing that happens. So they can be a painter or be a sparky, but they can't be a steel fixer. I know steel fixers who are incredibly strong and capable women. Like it's just helping to change some of those mindsets. So that's a really crucial point. And controversially, I think we have to have some targets. I know people don't like quotas and targets, but what gets measured gets done, and we need to get to a critical mass. We need to work with people to help them understand that we're not taking anyone else's spot. We have a shortage. We need these people to come to our industry. We're not out there trying to take over the world. And the girls that are interested in trades, they genuinely want to be here. How often have we seen young boys pushed into a trade because they failed at something else and, it was a good option, and yet they hate it. They turn up to work every day and they hate it. You're better off hiring from the 50% of the population and who are genuinely interested in having a go and learning.
What are your thoughts around one of the barriers? I was talking to a woman about this that was interested in a trade, and she's a mature woman wanting to go and has kids and things like that. And one of the barriers can sometimes be childcare and being able to be on site on time for pre-starts and safety checks. Are there things we can do to shape the roles a little bit as well to try and enable more women to access it?
I think that's a bit of a chicken before the egg kind of. We need that critical mass to be impacted. The industry is still significantly resistant to flexible working, and it's one of the last bastions for this flexible working kind of thing. But I think that I think what we need to do is demonstrate the benefit to the men as well. We all know and have spoken to some amazing men in the industry who are now reflecting on how much they've missed with their own kids, not going to sporting events, awards events. Their kids don't know how to talk to them because dad hasn't been around for a long time. Yes, you've provided all the comforts of the world, but that connection is, especially at those crucial younger years, is lost. And I think by addressing that for women, so that women can come into the industry, addressing, when I say that, flexibility, or looking at how do we look at work hours that would work for women. I think it will work for the men as well. I think it'll bring a bit more work-life balance for the men also. I just don't. I probably was one of those people when COVID was first and we were all being told we're going to work from home. I was like, how do we do that? I was so stunned by this. And I was someone who spent endless hours at events and volunteering as well as my day job. And I just couldn't fathom being at home as much. And, look what happened. Look at that, innovation happened. And that's what humans are. They adapt, they change, they work with the environment that they're in. And I think if if we could really look at how we talk about flexibility and not look at it as just something for the women, I think it'll make a difference.
I think so too. And I think when you shift and you have I think that one of the things you've spoken to me about before, which I really resonates with me and I think is important, is how you spoke about that having diversity. It's not just because there is the skill shortage, yes, but it's also the culture shift that will bring in construction. And it's no secret that the industry, as in its current states, has extremely high divorce and suicide rates. And there's an extreme immense amount of pressure placed on, because it's compounding, right? The less people we have, the more the people that are there are working longer hours and not being able to see their families and not being able to have balance. But if we can shift that and bring that opportunity to both women and men, it just makes the culture of the industry more appealing to women and men.
Yeah, absolutely. And we've seen it. We've seen a real life test tube case, if you like, with the Exemplar project a couple of years ago, where we achieved over 34% overall participation, and it was about 21% in frontline trades. There was only a couple of areas where we couldn't actually find women to work. One was the roofers, and it doesn't matter. Anyway, we saw on this site there was collaboration and agreement around the work. We worked with all the contractors. We provided them with the NAWIC diversity and inclusion toolkit for employers. We provided D&I awareness training on site, so like a toolbox talk on a regular basis with the men that were on site. And within a really short period of time of coming out of the ground on this 3-story building, we were seeing a real shift in the attitudes on site, the way that they were speaking not only to the women but to each other. The aggression was being lost out of the conversations. It was one of the cleaner sites that anyone had been on. We had no loss of time due to an incident, so safety-wise. But then anecdotally we were hearing that their families were saying, you're not drinking as much when you're coming home and you're not as stressed. You don't seem so stressed. And the guys didn't want to go to work, and some of the guys were bringing cupcakes in for a toolbox talk.
Bless them. I love it.
Like, why have we never thought about bringing cupcakes? Not sure that they cooked them, but or baked them, but they were bringing them to the toolbox talk. And it was a real interesting thing to see that with that critical mass, which is between 25 and 30%. It's almost instantaneous, the shift in how people feel. Like the fact that they didn't want to go to another site is just huge. It's huge.
Amazing.
Yeah.
It's amazing. And coming and bringing cupcakes, I love that. And I agree. I really agree with you around a lot of the time it's not that men don't want it to happen, they just don't know what to do or how to play their part. And that's why I think the Male Allies program is so important. And also stories like you just told that sort of go, it's not about, rah-rah, we're feminists and we want to take all the jobs and we want to take over the industry. We just want our place, and we just want equal opportunity and to be able to go up and do the work that we love, and everybody has a unique role to play, right down to the guy baking those cupcakes,
Yeah, the other thing that should be noted is that it's no secret we're not as strong and we can't necessarily always do what the men can do. So then we come up with ways to overcome some of these challenges. I mean, everyone knows a woman who's moved every piece of furniture in her house without the help of a man. Yep. By putting it on a rug or a towel and dragging it around.
Well, there's also these little trolleys.
Yep. That's the kind of thing that happens out on site when you've got a diversity, because their problems become unique to them. Or certain situations are unique to them because they haven't had to face them before, because they haven't had women on site. So a great example would be Rachel Diddock. She was a an engineering apprentice, I believe with Qantas, and she created this tool which looked like a bit of like a chopping board, but where the handle is, it had the uplift. And so basically she had to get into a part of the plane to pull out an extremely heavy battery. And with her size, she was only like a little size 8 girl, she had to get into this crevice and then try and use her physical strength to get it out. And she couldn't do it. So she's always having to ask the guys to do this for her, which then demonstrates, oh, well, women can't do the job. So she's created this little tool. She'd go in, just push the battery up enough and slip this thing in, and then the thing would just glide out like it's sliding on butter or on ice or something. And now then they implemented that as a tool across the board. So the guys don't have to break their back to pull this heavy battery out either. It was just something that they ended up using all the time. And that's what we're talking about. It's like we're doing things the same way because the only people doing it are the same people that have been doing it forever.
That is a great example because I won't lie, I had never connected, and it completely makes sense that having the diverse workforce and having to make adaptations and things like that for certain things that certain people may not be able to do physically, then forces us to think and innovate in an industry too.
And then that would open the industry up for more people with disabilities, living with disabilities, because if we start creating or implementing tools and equipment that helps with someone who may not have the brute strength of a man, then we open up for other cohorts, and then that again will create more inclusion and diversity in the workplace and create new innovative solutions that no one may have thought about.
I knew a bit about your story, but now I just feel like I've learnt so much more, and it just makes me admire you even more. And I also like how you've always been so humble about it, but inclusivity isn't just something you talk about, it's something I see you do. When you meet people, when you're in groups, you are always just, you are that person. So I want to commend you for that.
Thank you.
And I'm sure your family will be really proud. Now, I wanted to always ask the legacy question, and it's always a big one. Sometimes people haven't had the opportunity to think of it, but I want to know, with all the work you're doing and your family and also, rugby league and your work, what's the legacy you want to see for your life's work?
Look, I feel like I'm on that last leg of my journey. I'm getting closer to that retirement age. I had honestly thought that the shifts in the building and construction industry would have happened a lot sooner. I had kind of promised myself 20 years ago that it wasn't going to take me 20 years.
I love that you said 20 years.
20 years ago.
Say really
that
quick,
it was going to take me 20 years to see the shift. And whilst we have seen a huge improvement, particularly in the last, I'd say since 2019, I feel like I see a lot more women in the industry. I don't feel it has come fast enough. So I feel in terms of this last leg, I feel like the Olympics is that legacy, that connection with the sport, the connection with humanity, because sports does tend to, bring out the humanity in people. People's stories are really important. That connection is important, and it will connect Australia in a way that it hasn't previously, or Queensland that it hasn't previously. So if what I'd like to do is spend this last leg of my journey focusing on really making that happen, seeing women get into trades or apprenticeships today and build the sporting arenas that they play their sports in the future. Sorry.
Oh, you're getting emotional. You got me going now.
Silly old duck.
Oh, I love it. You got me going too. Because
Sorry.
I think when you're emotional about something, and this is what I tell this to my kids all the time. When you're emotional about something, it means it hits a chord, and when it hits a chord, it means you're on the right path. Yeah. I always say don't shy away from if something feels like that. I think when we're passionate about something, it strikes a chord.
Yeah.
And you're a very passionate person, but I know that you're going to achieve it. It's not even a question in my mind. It's like so Rad's doing this, great. Let's all get on board.
That's how do we make it happen.
I should tell you no, right, and just see what you do. But it's going to be great. Look, we're going into the fun part of the episode now as well. The rocket round.
Yes.
The first question is coffee or wine?
I'm a big wine drinker.
So coffee it is.
Coffee it is.
Yeah.
Bubbly is mine.
Oh, bubbly.
Bubbly.
Yeah.
Vodka.
Sancha on my team loves the bubbles.
Yep.
It's so funny. Every time I get bubbles, she gets them.
Yep.
Because if I get given them, she'll go, yes. Because she knows I don't drink bubbles. So anyone that's gifted me bubbles, Sancha on my team's getting them. She really appreciates it.
Thank you.
And cats or dogs?
Cats.
Oh, nice. Okay. Oh, cats. I just got a bit excited. How many cats have you got?
I have one. I've always only maintained one, but I've had cats since I left home.
Smart to have one animal. Yeah. I should take a leaf out of that book. That seems so manageable.
The kind of life that I lead, it's tough. I do have a dog as well, but as I've gotten, if you'd asked me 10, 15 years ago, I probably would have said dog, but as I get older, I just love my cat.
Yeah. I love the I don't care about you. Like, and I'm there when I want to be of cats. I love that, just that nature that they've got. So
Lucian has this habit in the morning. He wait because I feed him in the morning before I go to work. So he waits at my bedroom door, and he'll just wait somewhere around the corner and just tap me around the calf, as if to say, "You ready? Or something like that. And he's like, and then he prances with me. He's actually, I've tripped over him down the stairs a couple of times, and I've now gotten really careful because he just likes to weave himself around my legs as we're going downstairs for his breakfast.
My golden retrievers tore my a ligament in my knee. They were running and playing and slammed into the side of my knee. They had a great time. It was not fun. I had to do lots of rehab on it, so I didn't have to have surgery on it. So, a cat hopefully doesn't do as much running down the stairs isn't ideal, right? Yeah. And what podcasts do you listen to?
Well, I listen to yours.
I know. I was excited that you said that.
I love it. I've learnt so much about so many of my friends, and because I've learnt things about Emma and Sasha, and just amazing. And Kathy. I think I told you this story. I go for early morning runs, and I was listening to Kathy on your podcast, and I was laughing to myself. People were staring at me like I was crazy, but it was so good. It's a really great podcast.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it. And favourite holiday destination?
That's a tough one because I like to go to new places, but I guess if I could go back anywhere, it would be either Positano or Santorini.
Oh, I haven't been to either of those places, but
Positano.
Just the way you say it makes them sound beautiful. I'm like, oh, it just sounds fancy. Love it. And what makes you feel like you're home?
My kids.
Yeah.
They surround me on the couch, and I always feel most at peace when they're around me. My daughter's away. She's working in North Queensland. She's actually due home on Tuesday, and when they're all three there, and there's not enough room on the couch, but that feels like home.
I love that.
I don't mind walking on a construction site either.
Oh yeah. Construction site and your kids.
It's less threatening sometimes than walking into a formal, event at Narwick.
I still love when you said, what did you say? You said when you first went to a Narwick event, what did you say? What was your comment?
I think it was like, and saw all the designer handbags.
And you said this? Yeah. This isn't construction.
I think it was more like, what the fuck do you people know about?
Oh, yeah, it was that. Yeah.
I don't know if you can beep out.
No, I do it's a construction podcast. I've told people if you're offended by language, you're probably on the wrong podcast.
You shouldn't listen.
Well, offended by anything, really, because I kind of don't have a filter. So, yeah. Yep. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast.
It's my pleasure.
It's been an absolute delight to learn more about you, and I think you've gained so much respect through the industry. I know that this is going to be so listened to, so get ready for the comments to come flooding in, because that's what's going to happen.
I hope so. I hope it helps create some of the change that we want to see.
I think so, and I hope if the right people are listening, how can they connect with you? Because
LinkedIn's probably the best way. I am on all social media, but LinkedIn is the best way.
I'm a big believer as well. Brisbane itself and Queensland even, well, Brisbane's a big small town. So if you're listening to this episode and you think you can help Rad with her vision for what's going to happen with the Olympics, align with Rad. Let's make this happen, and let's have, you know, our athletes building these amazing facilities that they're going to be, you know, participating in.
Yeah, absolutely. And let's see 30% of women
Woo!
by 2032.
Yes, we can do it. This is Rad's do
32
it.
by 32. There's a new slogan.
Yes, we've just created it here. You've heard it first. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
If this episode gave you new insights, don't let them go to waste. Take action. Apply them. And if you want more insider strategies from the best in construction and infrastructure, make sure to subscribe. Share this with someone who needs to hear it. And remember, the leaders who open the most doors aren't waiting for opportunities, they're building them.